Good evening. How is everyone this evening? Good. Praise the Lord. This evening we are going to talk about stress. I think stress is a subject. Excuse me, it's hard for me to stay still, so I'm going to move a little bit, so I got to get my chords together. Stress is a subject that I believe is underrated, especially in our community, in the Adventist community. It really is. I don't think we talk about it enough because it leads to a lot of physical conditions, and you're going to see how that happens. So it's really important. I talk about it in every presentation. So I don't really have time to get into it in every presentation, but I do touch on it because it is an important subject. So tonight we're going to have some time, a little bit of time. We're going to take some time to kind of talk about it in a little more detail, at least to give you enough background so you can understand the principles and you can understand how it happens and how you can help yourself, because your body always needs your help. Okay, to help your body to manage stress better if you've got any stress in your life. So I'm going to start out with another word of prayer, okay, if you don't mind. Father in heaven, we thank you so much for this day that you've given us, Lord. We thank you for keeping us the way you do, Father. Thank you so much for waking us up this morning, Lord, and prayerfully you woke us up with the mind of Christ. And now, Lord, as we are about to learn some principles about stress and how to manage that stress, we just ask for your holy angels and for your Holy Spirit to be here with us. Guide my thoughts and my mind, Lord, please, so that what I say may be understood and that your name may be glorified. For it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. Okay. One of the first things I like to start out talking about is disease. And one of the first things I want to talk about, it says, this quote that comes from Counsels on Health, page 324. And it says, Satan is the originator of disease, and the physician is warring against his work and power. Sickness of the mind prevails where? Everywhere. Sickness of the mind. 9/10 of the diseases from which men suffer have their foundation here. So let's break that down. So it's saying that Satan is the originator of disease, and the physician, who would be the physician if you're working with someone? That would be you and that would be me, right? Mm-hmm. We are warring against his work and power. And sickness of the mind prevails everywhere. So it says that what this is saying is that 9/10 of disease starts where? In the mind. So the mind is important. So a lot of times people want to skip that and they just want to say, what can I take? Mm-hmm. Tell me what kind of herb I can take to help me to get better. Just like popping a pill, right? Mm-hmm. It's the same principle that you're thinking of. But when you're working with someone, you always want to think of the mind. You want to talk to the person. You want to see what's going on in their life. What kind of interactions do they have with their family? Do they have with their friends? Do they have with their coworkers? Is there any bitterness against somebody? All of these things you got to figure out before you even think about what kind of herb you're going to give them. Okay, because that's going to be what you're going to deal with most of the time. And it says remorse for sin sometimes undermines the constitution and unbalances the mind. What does that mean? So if you're sorry for something, sometimes you can take it to the point where you will undermine your constitution. And it's going to unbalance your mind. So in other words, guilt. Mm-hmm. You can be so guilty about something that you have done, right, to someone else where it can make you unbalanced. Mm-hmm. That can lead to sickness. But it says the religion of Christ, so far from being the cause of insanity, is one of its most what? Effectual remedies. For it is a potent soother of the nerves. Because we're going to talk about the nervous system. Because the nervous system is involved when you're dealing with stress. So remember that. So having a mind of Christ, thinking about Christ.
Sorry, Sister Tonya, can you explain what you mean by undermining the constitution?
In other words,
simple language.
All right, so if you have, let me try to give you an example. You know what your constitution is, right? That's what you're built up of, right? That's the basis of what you're made of, your constitution of your body. So if you've got guilt about something, you can undermine your constitution. In other words, you can make your constitution, you only have so much vital force, right? That you're given, that we're all given from Adam. We all have a certain amount. If you're undermining your constitution, and what does it mean to undermine something? Anybody got any idea? Come on, give me some ideas of what it means to undermine something. Remove the foundation.
The two words are under and mine. You're mining under something.
That's right. So in other words, you're not living up to the standard of your constitution of what you should be. Okay, of what your constitution is made up of. You're undermining that. You're going below that.
There is the potential.
Yes. Yes. Of what? Because remember, your guilt has now come into play. And so now you're not seeing the potential of what you should be, of what your constitution should be. You're going below that. You're saying, no, I'm not worth this. No, I'm not this. No, I'm not that. Okay?
Trying to destroy the foundation.
That's right. Because Satan is always trying to destroy the foundation, isn't he? That's right.
Sorry, I just needed that.
All right. Okay. All right. But the religion of Christ will help that. Okay? Because it's one of its most effectual remedies. So I'm going to skip that now. And now I want to start looking at stress. So what is stress? Well, it's an experience caused by something called a stressor. So something has to stress you out, right? Stressors can be emotional or they can be physical. They can cause us to react when we feel under pressure or threatened. But although we refer to stress as an emotion, it's much more than that because it creates a series of physiological events inside the body. So it's not just something that's emotional. It's something that's physiological that's going to change things in your body. And we're going to look at it. All right? How often these events occur and how long they last have a huge impact on your health, specifically on autoimmune diseases. So what are some stresses in life? Well, some major stresses could be a death of a loved one, divorce, breakup, being subjected to physical or emotional abuse or trauma. Some less obvious stressors could be working long hours, right? Taking care of others more than you're taking care of yourself. Those can be stressors. Some positive stressors could be events like getting married or getting your dream job or moving into a house or the country, right? That can even be stress, but it can be a positive stress. So all stressors cause an amazing cascade of events inside your body called the stress response. That's a real term, the stress response. That's what this stress can lead to. Let's start with the brain. The amygdala, you see that little green part right there, right? That's the amygdala in your brain. So the stress response starts there because that amygdala is going to control fear. That's the main emotion that it controls. And what it's going to do is it's going to send a distress signal to your hypothalamus. I always consider your hypothalamus as your hypothalamus is right above here. I always consider that as your control center. All right? Because your hypothalamus controls a lot of things. And then it's going to send a signal to your in this particular case, it's going to send one to your sympathetic nervous system. And we're going to talk about the sympathetic nervous system. And then it's also going to send a signal to your autonomic nervous system, or your autonomic nerves, and then it's going to send it to your adrenals. Everything is going to eventually go to your adrenals, okay? So in this particular case, this one is going to start with the amygdala, and then it's going to send a distress response to your hypothalamus, which is going to send one to your sympathetic nervous system, which is going to send one to your autonomic nervous part of your sympathetic nervous system, and then that's going to send it to your adrenals. Okay, we got that? Because now I'm going to talk about another part, so I want to make sure we got that one. Okay, all right. So these glands respond by pumping the hormone epinephrine. which is the same thing as adrenaline. All right? And then as epinephrine circulates throughout the body, it's going to bring on a number of these physiological changes in the body. So your body responds to stress in two major ways. One is your nervous system, which we're going to look at, and the second is by your hormones. And the most two important hormones we're going to look at are cortisol and adrenaline, which are made in your adrenals, and your adrenals sit on top of your kidneys. And we're going to talk about your adrenals as well. So let's look at the nervous system first. So your brain and your spinal cord make up your central nervous system. The rest of the nerves in your body make up your peripheral nervous system. All right? Now, we are fearfully and wonderfully made, because this peripheral nervous system is broken down into subsystems. All right? So you see you got the nervous system, you got the central nervous system, which is what? Your brain and your spinal cord, right? And then you got your peripheral, which is all the other nerves. Then in your peripheral is broken down to your autonomic and your somatic. And then your autonomic is broken down into your sympathetic, your parasympathetic, and your enteric. That's the simple way. All right? Because there's a little more into that, but that's just the simplest way of looking at it. So first, let's look at the peripheral. All right? Because we know the central, brain and spinal cord, but everything in the peripheral is going to go back to the central nervous system. Okay? So let's look at the somatic. So what is the somatic nervous system? So that is the nerves that you can control. That's like your hand movement, right? Lifting your leg, lifting your arm. That's your somatic nervous system. You can easily control these. Your autonomic, not so fast, because your autonomic controls functions such as your heart rate, your body temperature, your blood pressure, your breathing, your digestion. All right? But it's critical because it's got on and off switches that's supposed to balance each other. Remember, everything in the body has to be balanced. All right? So when you look at this autonomic nervous system, again, we got the central, brain and spinal cord. We got the peripheral, broken down into the autonomic, which is not so easily controlled, and the somatic, which is basically like your voluntary, right? What you can move, your hands, your legs. And then you got it broken down into your parasympathetic, your sympathetic, and the enteric, which is not here. Now, this is important because this autonomic nervous system is hardwired into your brain, which means it travels down through your nerves, right? Stimulating different organs in your stomach, your heart, your adrenals, and your lymphatic system. What's your lymphatic system? That's part of your immune system. All right, so that's important. Now, your T cells are part of your immune system, correct? Now, your T cells, when you were a child, your T cells were maturing and developing in your thymus. In other words, your immune system was in your thymus when you were a child, up until puberty. Because we're fearfully and wonderfully made, because God knew we needed there. Because that's protection for anything that comes into your mouth. It's going to come down, it's going to hit your thymus. That's where that protection is needed when you're a child. Now, by the time you turn 13, your immune system transfers to your bone marrow. All right? So your T cells have matured and developed, but now it's transferred to your bone marrow, and your thymus starts to shrink. Your thymus is huge when you're a child, like her age, right? But because she needs it in that part of her body for protection against any kind of antigen, any kind of pathogen that may come into her system. And that's part of her adaptive immune system. Now, when you are an adult and it moves to your bone marrow, your body creates billions of T cells every day. Every day. And some of those migrate back to the thymus as well as other parts in the body because it's got to protect you from invaders, right? So you need it in different parts. So this hardwiring of your autonomic nervous system is important because it's going to link up and connect with your immune system. And you're going to see it a little later on. So now in your sympathetic nervous system, think of that as your on switch. It turns things on when you're stressed. But you're also supposed to have something to balance it to turn it off. That would be your parasympathetic. So your sympathetic nervous system turns things on. Your parasympathetic is supposed to help to turn it off. It puts the brakes on it, right? But when you're stressed, that's when the problem kicks in. Okay? So the immune system and the nervous system, they communicate. They always communicate, right? Because remember that autonomic nervous system is hardwired to your brain, which is hardwired to your immune system. So all of these systems work together and they talk to each other. So that's important when we look at stress a little later. Now this enteric nervous system, that's like a quasi-autonomic nervous system. In other words, it's got functions to where it can control a number of neural circuits, such as certain nerve circuits, such as your motor functions, right? Your blood flow, your mucosal system. But it also helps to modulate your immune and your what other system? Your endocrine system. Now we're going to get into your hormones. So now how you see, so we see it in the nervous system, but now we're going to see it when it comes to your endocrine system, your hormones. But what's so important about this enteric system is that it can work independent. It doesn't have to work with the other systems. And it could independently control your digestive system. So when you're stressed, this system can take control. That's why it's sometimes called your second brain. So when you're stressed, the sympathetic nervous system is going to initiate a fight or flight response. This means your heart is going to start beating faster for two reasons. One, because it's that sympathetic nervous system, remember it turns things on. It's going to make your heart start beat faster. And then secondly, now you're going to get your hormones involved. Your adrenals are going to release adrenaline, which is also going to help to increase your heart rate. So now let's look at it from the standpoint of your hormones. So now what we're talking about is, it's going to start in your hypothalamus again, right? That's your control center. Your hypothalamus is going to release hormones because your hypothalamus is a part of your endocrine system. So now we're looking at the hormonal system, your endocrine system. It's going to speak to your pituitary, which is also going to release hormones, which is also a part of your endocrine system. It's going to speak to your adrenals. Your adrenals are also a part of your endocrine system, right? And your adrenals are going to initiate that fight or flight response. That's where your adrenaline is going to come in, okay? So, when it releases adrenaline, it's going to also release cortisol. Cortisol is your most potent and important stress hormone that you have. If you use up all of your cortisol, it can be fatal. You can actually die from it. It's just that important because it's a potent hormone. But it's a stress hormone because what it does is if you're in a situation where you have to flee or you got to fight, cortisol gives your adrenaline is going to give you that that fight or flight response, right? It's the one that's going to make you move. But in order to give you that energy, cortisol gives you that energy because it gives you the sugar that your body needs.
So when you said we could die from cortisol, what's an example of that? A heart attack?
You could, but I'm going to show you something. Just give me a minute, and I'm going to show you what it actually does. So it raises your blood sugar so that you can have that energy that you need to fight or to flee. But it's also the main anti-inflammatory hormone. So you go, wait a minute. If it's anti-inflammatory, if it helps to stop inflammation, then how come I have so much inflammation? And especially if I'm stressed, because you're overworking that hormone. All right? So it's supposed to keep it in check because it is an anti-inflammatory hormone. But just like anything else, if you overwork it, you're going to cause it to continue It's not going to stop. It's going to continue to go faster. It's not going to slow down. All right? So when you're injured, the inflammation that's created by your immune cells can get in the way if you're doing the healing process. All right, let me give you an example. Let's say, for instance, you hit your big toe with a hammer, okay? Now, your immune system is programmed to go through your body and look for invaders. That's just what it does. It's programmed to do that. It doesn't do anything else. So it's always going through looking for any kind of antigens, bacteria, anything that doesn't need to be there, right? So when you hit your big toe, your immune system is going to send out hormones, right, that are part of your immune system. It's going to say, uh-oh, she just hit her big toe. So automatically it's going to send out two main important immune hormones, which are bradykinin and histamine. And they're going to go straight to your toe, as well as some other hormones. But what they're going to do is now your toe is going to turn red. It's going to start to swell, because now what it's doing is starting to debris. It's starting to, so it swells so that old cells and debris can go out, new cells can come in, fresh blood can come in, old blood can be taken out. Just that quick. Aren't we fearfully and wonderfully made? And then it's going to send a signal to your brain to say, ouch, you just hit me. And you're going to grab that toe and you're going to protect it. So nothing else will get to that toe, right? And so cortisol is there to help to stop that inflammation, all right? Because inflammation is good for a certain period of time, because it's to let you know that something has happened and it's trying to fix it. So it's going to start, like I said, debrising that wound, right, that toe, and it's going to turn red because, again, it's putting in fresh blood and it's taking out the old blood, and it's going to send a signal to your brain so you can protect it. So that's good. So that's what you call acute inflammation. So that lasts for maybe a week or two, right? Because you're protecting your toe. Chronic inflammation is when you get to the point where it continues to like work what it's supposed to do, and now it's overworking. So now you got chronic inflammation. So now that cortisol, because you're stressed, right? That cortisol is going to stay high. And when cortisol stays high, it shuts down every other system in the body. And we're going to see it. All right? So that's part of the reason, too, that it can lead to you dying. Now, what I want to look at are your adrenals. So your adrenals basically, you got two parts. You got the cortex, which is this outer part, and you got the medulla, which is in the inner part. So what your adrenals do is they help your body to regulate your metabolism, your immune system, your blood pressure, your response to stress, right? Your adrenals help with that. So inside that cortex, you got three zones. You got that zona glomerulosa. That helps with your aldosterone, all right? That helps with your water and your sodium and your potassium function with your kidneys. That helps to regulate your blood pressure. All right, that's that zona glomerulosa. All of these are in this cortex. That zona reticulata, that's going to help with your cortisol. That's where your cortisol comes from. Your zona reticularis, that's where your androgens comes from, male, female sex hormones. They're in those. All of those are hormones, right? So each zone is responsible for producing specific hormones, and these are steroid hormones. All right, that your body is producing. Now, when you look at your medulla is made up of your catecholamines, which that is where your adrenaline or your epinephrine and your norepinephrine are. One of them, your epinephrine has an effect on your heartbeat, and your norepinephrine has an effect on how the heart rate. Okay, how the heart is pumping. So they both have to do with the heart. So when you're in that fight or flight response, that's where that adrenaline is coming from. So that's why when I say your adrenals, that's where it's coming from, the medulla of your adrenals. Okay? So one common way that stress affects the body is by causing a hormonal imbalance. All right? Because remember, we're looking at it from the hormone standpoint now. So we looked at adrenaline. We looked at cortisol. All right, so cortisol, again, is released after your body is in that fight or flight mode because it's got to help you stay on high alert. You need that sugar, you need that energy to keep your body to say, okay, I gotta keep going, I gotta keep going. Now think of this in any situation of stress. All right, it may not be necessarily a fight or flight, but if you're stressed, that same system is going to kick in and it's going to happen. All right. So cortisol, again, it's normally, under normal circumstances, is supposed to keep inflammation down. It's supposed to help to regulate your blood pressure, right? We know it increases your blood sugar. It controls your sleep-wake cycle. So when you're stressed, you have problems sleeping. All right? It boosts your energy so you can handle stress. And it's supposed to restore the balance afterwards. But again, if you're in a state of chronic stress, that cortisol is going to stay on high alert. And it's going to say, I'm not letting anything else in because I'm in control right now. Because you're making me in control. All right? So, I talked about cortisol a little bit, but in an anti-inflammatory hormone. All right, so cortisol receptors. So we got receptors in most every cell of our body. We got different receptors because that's how our body receives information, right? That it needs to do what it needs to do on a day-to-day basis. So same thing with cortisol. It's going to differ from day to day because the body's needs differ from day to day. But it can also, cortisol can also alter or shut down any function that gets in its way, like I said earlier. So it can shut down your digestive system. It can shut down your reproductive system. It can shut down your immune system. All right? And it can also shut down your nervous system. Remember how we talked about it's hardwired to your nervous system. So think of cortisol when it comes to hormones. Cortisol is a precursor for progesterone. In other words, progesterone is needed in order to make cortisol. But if your body is on high alert and it's also using up that cortisol, then that means your progesterone is going to be low. So if your progesterone is low, then that means it can lead to decreased fertility, irregular cycles, estrogen dominance in relation to progesterone. And when you have estrogen dominance, females, that's where we get into a whole bunch of other issues, right? Like fibroids, PCOS, endometriosis, right? All of these are estrogen dominance. So think about when you're stressed, that's how it can imbalance your hormones. So the connection between stress and your hormones is very important. And all of your hormones are known as immunomodulators. So you ask yourself, what's that? Well, that's any kind of substance, whatever that substance may be. And it could be food, right? It could be stress. It could be whatever. That it can influence the number of your immune cells, or it can even change the activity of your immune cells, either making them weaker or stronger. So your two main stress hormones are cortisol and adrenaline, which are immunomodulators, right? So they can greatly influence how your T cells develop and mature, because remember, everything in your body has to be balanced. So when the immune system is healthy, the body makes a balanced number of T cells and regulator cells. Now, food can be an immunomodulator because your diet can affect your immune system. Let's look at it for a system. The food you eat tells your cells how to behave by changing the way the enzymes work in the cell. So that's something that's actual physical change that can happen based on the food you eat. So within every cell of your body is a complete book of your life. So each cell has all of your genes in it. So think of your genes as a book with many, many chapters. So your liver cells are reading your liver chapter. Your brain cells are reading your brain chapter. Your heart cells are reading your heart chapter. Your lung cells are reading your lung chapter, right? All of these different organs and the chapters that it's reading Now think about food, because remember what we said earlier, food changes the way the enzymes are going to behave in that cell. So food has a function. It has a powerful effect on activating your immune system in a way, again, that can make it work better, or in a way that can make it promote more inflammation or even cause an autoimmune disease. Let's look at sugar, for instance. So after you eat sugar, right, which is, it's going to raise your blood glucose, right? It's going to spike. But what it's also going to do is that sugar is going to attach to the cells in your body, and it's going to start to initiate changes that begin deep inside that cell. It's actually going to change that cell. And it's going to cause the changes, the enzyme in the cell, and it's going to cause that cell to make inflammatory markers now. Because now it's something that shouldn't be in that cell. So it's going to start making some inflammatory markers. So this happens every time you eat sugar, but you don't notice it if it's on occasion. But if you eat it every day, say for instance, you got donuts for breakfast, right? That's got sugar in it. You got coffee with sugar in it. You got a Danish with sugar in it. If you eat that every day, imagine what that's doing to your cells. That's change. That's reprogramming your cells is basically what it's doing. Now, resveratrol, which is anti-inflammatory and also antioxidant, right? So it keeps inflammation down and it keeps your cells from oxidizing. That means it keeps it from dying quicker. Now, if you're eating some grapes are full of resveratrol, then what's going to happen? It's going to attach itself to those cells in your body. But in this particular case, it's going to have an opposite effect because it's going to turn on what has been called your longevity gene. All right? So now it's going to help these enzymes to make the cell live longer. Whereas the sugar is going to help to kill that cell. It's going to make it die. So it too causes a chain reaction inside the cell, but it's going to cause that cell to live longer. So chronic stress can cause your immune system to be suppressed for longer than it needs to be. And it can lead to infections, gut health, and also adrenal fatigue, as well as other conditions. So I wanted to find something to explain. Something else. I must have left it out. All right, that's okay. So now let's talk about having balance. So in temperance, this comes from, I'm not sure, what was it? Daughters of God, I think. 161, paragraph 3. It says, in temperance in eating and drinking, and temperance in labor, and temperance in almost everything exist on every hand. Those who make great exertions to accomplish just so much work in a given time and continue to labor when their judgment tells them they should rest are never gainers. They are living on borrowed capital. So we have to be balanced, all right, even in our work, because if not, that can lead to stress, all right, and then that's going to lead to imbalances in the system. They are expending the vital force which they will need at a future time. And when the energy they have so recklessly used is demanded, they fail for want of it. The physical strength is gone. The mental powers fail. They realize that they have met with a loss, but they do not know what it is. Their time of need has come, but their physical resources are exhausted. You can use them up. You can use them up. And that goes back to what we were saying with the cortisol. So as a rule, the labor of the day should not be prolonged into the evening. If all the hours of the day are well improved, the work extended into the evening is so much extra, and the overtaxed system will suffer from the burden imposed upon it. I have been shown that those who do this often lose much more than they gain, for their energies are exhausted and they labor on what? nervous excitement. They may not realize any immediate injury, but they are surely undermining their constitution. You understand that? Everyone who violates the laws of health must sometime be a sufferer to a greater or lesser degree. God has provided us with constitutional force, which will be needed at different periods of our life. If we recklessly exhaust this force by continual overtaxation, we shall sometime be losers. Our usefulness will be lessened, if not our life itself destroyed. Something else. All right. So, what can we do? What are some things that we can do to help manage the stress in our lives? Well, there's some supplements we can take, right? Such as L-arginine is one. L-arginine allows the various organs to produce hormones. It can increase growth hormones. We can add food like lentils, chickpeas, right? Omega-3 fatty acids, they counteract the inflammatory effects of stress. It helps to reduce cortisol. Now, L-arginine also helps to lower your blood pressure. So it helps to bring your blood pressure down. And you can get it through L-citrulline. L-citrulline you can mainly get through eating watermelon. Citrulline is high in watermelon, right? And then L-citrulline will convert in the body to L-arginine. And then L-arginine will convert in the body to nitric oxide. And nitric oxide helps to dilate your blood vessels. So it helps with your blood pressure, which will help to lower your cortisol. All right, B5 vitamins. I always say do a multi-B vitamin because multi-B vitamin are very, very good for your nervous system. And your B vitamins are found in your gut, okay? Because 80, some people say 80 to 90% of your immune system is found in your gut, all right? And then 90% of your serotonin, which helps to do with your feel good, right? Helps to bring down your stress level. 90% of your serotonin is found in your gut. Only 10% is in your brain. So that's why the gut is very, very important. So if you are stressed, it can shut down that immune system, which is mainly in your gut. And now you're going to have some digestive issues on top of that. So your B5 vitamins can be found in many foods like your avocado, your sunflower seeds, right? Your lentils, your chickpeas, your vitamin B12. That helps to give you the energy, right? And B12 deficiencies can also cause disruption in your progesterone levels. Goes back to that progesterone again. So your hormones and your nervous system are closely connected. Magnesium. Magnesium is very good because it helps to absorb and metabolize vitamin D. And your calcium. Calcium acts as a chill pill for the brain, right? It helps to lower your stress. High stress depletes magnesium. So if you're stressed, it's going to deplete your magnesium. And so you need to get more magnesium in your body. You can get it through these foods, right? You see your pumpkin seeds, your spinach, your Swiss chard, your edamame, your cashews, your sunflowers, your navy beans, your legumes, and of course, magnesium oil. I love magnesium oil. It's very, very good. You can also do a fast. You can do a 3-day water fast, right? You can do raw fruits and veggie fast for a couple of days to a couple of months. You can do a juice fast. I love water fasting and I love juice fasting. The water fasting is one of the quickest ways to cause autophagy in your system. And basically what that is if you can do a water fast, it needs to be at least 24 to 36 hours. And then what's going to happen is your body stores fat cells, all right? So these fat cells that your body stores, which are part of your triglycerides, what they do is when your body needs glucose in order to run. That's what our bodies run off of, glucose. So if you're doing a water fast, it's not getting the glucose, right? It's not getting the energy. So it says, I got to go in the reserves. So it's going to go inside your fat cells. Those fat cells are not all good, okay, that are there, because those triglycerides comes from foods sometimes we eat that may be fried foods or foods that are not so good that the body can't do anything with that food, so it stores it. It stores it in fat cells. Say, okay, I might need this later. But it's not the best energy that your body needs. So now what the good cells are going to do is they're going to start to eat those bad cells, right? That's what autophagy is. So it's saying, okay, we can use this, we'll keep this, we'll recycle this, we'll keep that, we'll get rid of that. Amazing, isn't it? It's just amazing. The body would just automatically do it. But autophagy is one of the quickest ways that it will do it. And one of the quickest ways you can reach autophagy is through a water fast. Now, some people have done it longer than 3 days. I can't say yay or nay, because I've seen some people that's handled it very well for longer than 3 days. But I just say always be very careful. Me personally, I can't go over 3 days. All right. Now, if the Lord told me to, I'm sure I probably could. But I have done it 2.5, close to 3 days. All right. And it's tough. It's tough. That's all you're doing is drinking water. But I noticed some changes. Just even in that amount of that's right. You do get a burst of energy just in that small amount of time. And so your cells are being recycled and your body is making new cells and it's making them quicker. So it's really, really a good way to help your body. Juice fast. I love juice fasting too. Juice fast for at least 7 to 10 days. All right. Green juices. Don't get all them sweet juices and put them all together and think you're having a juice fast. Get you some kale, right? Some spinach, some Swiss chard. Add a little bit of cucumber, celery, some ginger to it, right? You got a great juice. You got a really, really good juice. You can add some beetroot too. I say though, if you got some problems with kidneys, you want to watch the beetroot, okay? Because beetroot is high in oxalates, just like a lot of other vegetables are high in oxalates too. But if you do use them, make sure you're drinking your water, because that way you're making sure that the body, oxalates is basically just waste products. But if the colon doesn't get it, then it's going to reabsorb back into the system, and now it's going to get stuck into your kidneys. And when it gets stuck into your kidneys, it's going to harden, crystallize, and that's how you get kidney stones. So you want to make sure that you're drinking your water, all right? Because when you drink your water or any kind of citric acid products, such as citrates, such as in your lemons, all right, and your limes, that helps to break down the stones too. So even if you're drinking water, you can add a little bit of lemon to your water, and it'll really help. All right, some herbs. What are some herbs you can take for stress? Rhodiola, it's a very good stress herb. Valerian, St. John's worts, maca, holy basil, lemon balm. I love lemon balm. I use lemon balm and put it in a female product, progesterone cream that I make. That's really, really good. It really helps to lower the stress. Passion flower is another good one. Ashwagandha. Goji berries. I talked about lemon balm already. Lavender is another good one that helps. All right. So you are what you eat is a well-known adage. So fruits and vegetables contain a variety of micronutrients critical to physical and mental function. Right. So research has established that people who eat more fruits and vegetables have a lower incidence of mental disorders, including lower rates of depression, stress, and negative mood, right? But didn't the Lord tell us that already? So look at what the Lord has told us. In Counsels on Child Guidance, page 378, it says our bodies are built up from the food we eat. Makes sense, right? There's a constant breaking down of the tissues of the body. Every movement of every organ involves waste, and this waste is repaired from our food. Each organ of the body requires a share of nutrition. The brain must be supplied with its portion. The bones, muscles, and nerves demand theirs. It's a wonderful process that transforms the food into what? Blood. Because Leviticus 17:11 tells us the life of the flesh is where? It's in the blood. So it transforms the food into blood and uses this blood to build up the varied parts of the body. But this process is going on continually, supplying with life and strength each nerve, muscle, and tissue. So Proverbs 3, verse 5 and 8 says, trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not into thine own understanding, because it shall be health to thy navel, that's your digestive system, and marrow to thy bones, that's your immune system. So we need to put our trust in the Lord, right? And because remember what we read in the very, very beginning, it's a potent soother of the nerves, the religion of Christ, right? So give Christ your stress, right? He said, take my yoke upon you and learn of me. But my yoke is easy and my burden is light, right? So give it to him, but leave it there. Don't take it back, all right? And then work on your immune system, building up your immune system, keeping your immune system strong, maybe doing some juice fasting sometimes, right? Praying and fasting, all right? That will help, because we have to learn how to manage the stress and not let that stress manage us, all right? It's important because I've seen it in so many people that I work with in disease. And what kind of job do you work? Oh, I did this for 35 years. Was it stressful? Yes, it was very stressful. You know, and wondering why they're sick now. Along with not eating the foods that we should be eating. Because remember what we saw, food is a what? Immunomodulator. It can change the way our enzymes work in our body. It changes our cells in our body. It has a physiological effect on the body. So all of these things are important. So that's just what I wanted to just give you. And that's a little snippet, all right, of stress and what stress can do to the body. Because I didn't want to do it like a class and be here all day. So I just wanted to give you some idea, some principles that you can take with you, that you can understand stress and what it actually does in the body. Okay? All right. Any questions before we end? Any questions?
That includes online as well.
And that includes online, yes. Any questions?
So would you say stress is the root of most of our illness?
Sorry, could you say it again?
What did she say?
Would you say stress is the cause of most of our illnesses?
It can be. It can be. It also can be any kind of, like I said, unforgiveness that you may have against somebody, bitterness you may have against somebody. It's always something, 9/10 of it's going to start in the mind. It's always something that, you know, somebody could have done to you 20, 30 years ago that you haven't let go of, right? I know breast cancer is definitely related to unforgiveness. Unforgiveness. So it can be. Yes.
That's not working.
Oh, sorry. Switch forward, please. Switch up.
It is up. It is
Okay,
up.
good. Go ahead.
Okay. You said some stresses are good stresses, like marriage and getting into a new house. I'm not sure how that's good stress.
I know,
but
I know. Well, that's what the world calls good stress.
Okay.
All right, I'll put it that way.
Right. But like for instance, yesterday I was at a meeting. Not wasn't yesterday. A couple of days ago I was at a meeting, and I had to raise I felt like I needed to raise a question, and there was lots of people there, and I was a bit. But I'm normally someone that's not anxious to speak. But what I did notice, because it's good to be in tune with your body, as the mic was passed to me and I was waiting to be, to speak, I could feel my heart really pulsating like it was going to be popping out of my body, because of and you mentioned that there's 2 hormones that are released that both work on the heart rate. So when you said that, I could resonate with that, because I was thinking, wow. I really felt like my heart was going to come out of my chest. It was beating so hard, and I thought, can anybody else tell?
All right, and then I want to go back. I want to answer your question, because you talked about cortisol, right? And what cortisol can do. If your body doesn't have enough cortisol, then it can lead to low blood pressure. It can lead to low blood sugar, but it can also lead to hypotassium. And that low blood pressure and low blood sugar and hypotassium is a what word I want to use is a formula for fatalness, for fatal illnesses. It can cause you to die. So it's like when people have kidney issues, and if their potassium is too high, if you don't get that potassium down soon, their kidneys are going to shut down. And that's going to basically cause some of the rest of the organs to start shutting down, and it can lead to fatalities.
I noticed you just said the word illnesses, so that means one, it can happen immediately because you just
It can.
the
Mhm.
kidneys,
Mhm.
or two, it can turn into a disease over time.
Yes, because even if it's stress, because remember, stress, your cortisol level is too high. So if it's too high, that's going to cause that cortisol to overreact. All right, and so then it's going to cause your blood pressure to be low. It's going to cause your sodium to be high, and it's going to cause your potassium to be high, and that's fatal because now it's going to start to interact with your other organs, such as your kidneys. And when your kidneys shut down, your other organs are going to start shutting down soon thereafter, and that's how it could be fatal. Okay, I thought I had it in there, but I do have that slide, but I'm gonna put it back in there because I did have it in there. You're welcome.
I just want to just add to what you're saying, and just looking back at patients that we look after, mainly the elderly, that you find they come in hospital with stress. Come in, they can't cope, they're not eating, they're not drinking, and as you've just said, the first organ that start to play up is the kidney.
That's right.
So they start to go into, stage 3 kidney failure,
That's
all
it.
kind of
That's
issues
it.
start
Renal
going on.
disease. That's right.
Exactly, and then it progresses from there. Diabetes start coming in, cholesterol problems.
That's right.
Before you know it, they're on medication for every single
right.
organ issue.
That's right.
So yeah, it is just important that whatever is going on, we try and de-stress ourselves as
You
much
got
as
to.
possible. We
Yeah.
got to.
Yeah, you have to.
It's shingle.
Shingles.
Is that linked to stress as well?
Shingles, yeah, because shingles comes from actually chickenpox. Chickenpox when you're little, and if that virus, because it's actually a virus that's in your system, if that virus doesn't get out of your system, then it's going to turn into shingles. And stress can't help that virus to come back into the system. Yeah, any kind of stress, herpes, any kind of viruses, if it's under stress, it can bring that virus back to the forefront. It can.
Okay, there's a question online.
Okay.
Okay.
Can I just follow up with what you
Yeah.
said? Because what I think I heard was, sorry, just lost my train of thought. But it sounds like if our bodies are strong enough to fight off viruses like herpes and chickenpox, but if it's not strong enough at the time that the virus attacks the body, then that's when we do get herpes and chickenpox.
Well,
But-
that virus can also lay dormant in the body.
Yeah.
It can lay dormant in the body for many, many years. Stress can cause it to come to the forefront again. It can. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, there's a question online.
See if we can hear it.
What's her name?
I can't see.
Okay. Yeah. Well, she's asking. She says, "Very good presenter.
Oh,
So very good presentation. Really
Praise the
enjoyed it." And she's asking, "Does the presenter have a book?"
The presenter has a book that is coming out soon. Her first book is on menopause. It's actually because I love talking about female hormones. I do. I love it. It's actually by the time I get back home, it's because I've been kind of sick and my book manager has been kind of sick. So it's going to be probably within the first month of me being back home, it will be released. And I do have everybody's email address from Catherine Lee. So I will be sending out an email blast to let you know when it comes out. But yeah, I mean, it's there. Yes. And then also when I get back home, I'm going to start working on another one for hormones.
So what are the details of the menopause book that's currently out?
Well, you're going to have to get the book. It's not out just yet, but it will be. It will be. But within a month of me getting home, it will be. Yeah. Yes, when I'm back home, what's the day? I've been over here for about 2 months now. So I'll be back home, I think next week, the end of next week. I think, yes.
Okay, just giving the opportunity for those online. If there's anyone that wishes to speak, you can unmute and ask your question. If not, we are going to have to wrap up in the next 5 minutes.
Okay.
So that we can vacate this place on time. But we will be back.
Yes, I'd like to know if the presenter is on social media.
Not really, but she's working on it. My book manager told me I have to be. I'm like, oh dear.
Is that Elaine?
No. Oh, asking the question?
Yeah, was that Elaine asking the question?
My name's Lillian.
Thank you, Lillian. Sorry.
I will be though, but I will be sending out some email blasts. I will be once I get into all that technological stuff.
Remember, email blast send it to one of the team so they can pass it on to others.
Sorry, can you say that again, Carol?
I will.
I say, if not, send it to one of the team, one of you guys, TTI group, and then we can get it from you.
Okay.
Sharon, maybe speak now and ask people to leave their emails in the chat.
Yeah, if anyone wants to leave your emails in the chat, feel free to do so. Or if you have our TTI's website or anything like that, not website, TTI's email address, you can do that.
If there's no more questions, join us.
If there's no
tomorrow.
more questions, please join us tomorrow. We are resuming at 11-ish. Okay, we'll be online anyway. We'll be on Zoom anyway from 10 o'clock with Sabbath School.
On this Zoom.
On this Zoom that you're on, this Zoom platform, the West Bridgewood Hub platform. So feel free to join us on there tomorrow and in the afternoon as well with practical demos starting from about 3:30. About 3:30.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. But we're going to.
We'll have sub school for the pub at 10 o'clock.
It's late. That's too late, the demonstration.
Okay. That's it?
Last words from Tonya.
Alright.
Last words from Tonya.
All right, so I hope that you were able to gain something from this presentation to understand stress and how stress really affects you mentally, spiritually, and physically, because it does have a physiological effect on the body, okay? So we will end with a word of prayer. Father in heaven, we thank you so much for what you're teaching us about these wonderful bodies that you have made for us, Lord. We are fearfully and wonderfully made. Lord, help us to take care of these bodies. We're stewards of these bodies that you have given us. Help us to use them for your name's honor and glory so that others may see you and us. We thank you so much for the Sabbath day that has started, Lord. Bless us this day. Help us to continue to have our minds stayed on you and allow you to teach us what it is you want us to know about health and our bodies, and as well as what we need to do to help others, Lord, to have better health and to help us, because that's just an entering wedge. You're so smart. You gave us this health message as an entering wedge, because what you're really after is our hearts. Lord, you're only trying to save us. So please continue to use us to help others and to help ourselves as well, to live in the presence of a holy God without an intercessor. We thank you so much, Father, for all things. For it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Okay, everyone. So thank you once again for joining us on Zoom. Thank you for those who's here live that we call the studio. So we thank you all for joining. And we will be here tomorrow by God's grace, 10 a.m., Sabbath School, and 11 is when we're going to kick off with the health program. All right, have a good night and safe journey home.
Thank you.